Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to Say What Wednesday. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to blend your eyeshadow out. I know it seems like it's very common sense and easy, but it's really not. It's something that you really have to work your way into and make part of your routine. So I wanted to show you guys, this is what we're going to be doing today. It's totally bold. It's something that I actually wanted to keep it just to 2 colors, 3 really. And I'm like, let's keep it basic, but you know what? We're not gonna keep it basic. We're gonna actually jump in and we're using 4 colors, 5 colors today. It's a lot, but it'll make sense. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you guys is you need a primer. I know that a lot of people think they don't need a primer. I was one of those people where I felt like it wasn't a necessary step. And I'm gonna tell you guys now, it is. It makes a huge difference. So the one I'm gonna be using today is this MAC Prep and Prime 24 eyeshadow base. I'm just gonna take a little bit of it and just apply it on my lid. So you're probably asking yourself, why is it important? Why do you need it? The reason is it's going to keep your eyeshadow in place, and it's also going to make those eyeshadows pop. I have oily lids. I've always had oily lids, and my shadow will naturally crease. So I need to make sure that I have something down that's going to keep my eyeshadow put. The other thing I'm going to be using is this Bobbi Brown. This is a retouching face pencil, but I'm going to use this under my lower lash line. I'm going to be using color down there, so I want to make sure that there's also something there that's going to keep that color in place. And I'm just going to blend this out with my phalange. I like that word. Phalange. Sounds fancy. Okay. So after you apply your base, you want to go in with something that is the color of your skin or similar to it. So I'm going to be using MAC's Chamomile. You could use something like Vanilla by MAC or any skin tone shade. Clearly I'm not that fair, but this color is so sheer that it don't matter. So I'm just using a MAC 224, a fluffy brush. And really you could use any brush with this. You can use something that's a little bit more dense. I like to use a fluffy brush just because I feel like it gets the job done fast. So the reason why we're using a color that's similar to our skin on top of that primer is because pigment powder will go on to powder smoother, whereas if you go in with something like, let's say your eyeshadow base, and then you go in with a color, it's gonna look patchy and streaky, and it's just gonna be more work for you. So it's just nice to lay down a powder or a neutral skin tone color on your lid and then move on to your next color on your lid and then move on to your next color. So the next color I'm going to be using is, oh, sorry. Really, you don't need 2 blending colors. I just personally like to go in with 2. So I'm going to be using this brown color from the Kevyn Aucoin quad, and I'm using the same fluffy brush, and I'm just going to start placing that on my crease. This is more of like a olivey brown shade, and the reason why I wanted to use this and then mix it with something that's a little bit more red tone was just so that it would just blend nicer. You don't, like I said, you don't need to go in with 2 colors, and you don't need to be very precise. As you guys see, I'm going back and forth. I'm not being very clean or neat about where I'm placing my shadow. The next color I'm going to be using is, I always have to drop something, Saddle by MAC. It's a red base brown. It's still very warm. I love me my warm colors. I'm making a mess. And I'm going to just, still using that same fluffy brush, apply that color in the crease. And all we're doing is just creating a nice transition space for our brighter colors, so that when you blend, it looks nice and diffused and it doesn't look patchy, rough, uneven. Now, my lids tend to come down a little bit. I say saggy, but they're not saggy. Clearly, they're not saggy. And I like to just kind of open my eyes really wide and then blend in the inner part here, just because I know that that's where it tends to look patchy for me. Just a little trick of the trade. Once you kind of know what your eye struggle is, like if you guys look here in the inner part, I always struggle with it blending there. Part of just being freaking awesome, right? Now, I'm gonna go in with a MAC 239 brush. You want something that's flat. It doesn't need to be a 239. It could be a 242 by MAC, which is slightly larger and it's synthetic, or it could be any dense brush. You want something that's dense because it's going to pick up the color and it's going to really just build the pigment without shearing it out. So I'm using a 239. I'm going to be using this Marc Jacobs, the Siren palette. I'm going to be using that color, that, and that, okay? I know it seems like a lot, but the whole point of me doing this is to show you guys how to blend and merge these colors without it looking very separated, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to start patting this color on my lid. And as you guys can see, it's very pigmented, but I will tell you that this color in particular can look very sheer. So that's why it's important to use something that's very dense and that you can use to build the color. So I'm using the tip of this brush to also just kind of define the shape of my lid. And I'm just patting additional pigment on top of that to really get a nicely intense blue color. So if you guys really wanted to just keep it at a one color look, you could do this and then you would just go in and blend, which we're gonna do. We're gonna take Saddle, which was the second brown shade that we use, and we're gonna start just blending the edges out just so that it looks smooth. But what I want you guys to pay attention is if you look at my lid now, you can see where the color starts to shear out. That's why you want something flat so that you can go over it and really pack that color on. Now we're going to take a MAC 222 brush. This is just a blending brush, but as you guys can tell, it's very packed and dense. I like to use this kind of brush to add color to my outer corner. So we're gonna go in with this really pretty sparkly teal shade, and we're gonna use this brush to start packing the color on the outer corner. And again, we want something that's dense and not fluffy like this. See the difference? You want something like this so that it really packs that color on, and you want something that's open and fluffy to blend. Part of really mastering your eyeshadow is having the right tools, and that was something else that I learned, you know, with experience. I'm gonna use my fluffy brush to blend. But you really want to make sure that you're using the right tools, because again, as you see, that just sheared out my shadow and it took away from that blue. So we're going to go back and we're going to pack and build again. I'm going to take a little bit of Saddle and I'm just blending these colors. So since we already applied Saddle to the crease, then going in with it and just working with what's on top already is just going to help keep everything cohesive. It blends. I'm taking a little bit more of that blue and I'm just patting it where I've lost pigmentation. I'm going to take again a little bit of Saddle and we're going to blend my inner corners. I told you guys that's the hardest part to blend for me because of them saggy lids. Okay, we're gonna go in again with some of that blue and push that onto the lid. Using the same 239 brush, I'm going to go in with this teal color and I'm going to use that to merge these two colors. I'm gonna take some more of that darker teal shade and just intensify my outer corner. And again, we're gonna go in and just blend. And I'm not getting close to any of the shadows. I'm literally just keeping it above the shadows because I don't want to have to keep going back and forth and cleaning it up. This is another step that a lot of people like to skip because you think it's not important and you think the look is complete and it looks fine. I am going to take a highlight shade. The highlight is going to go right under their brow bone. That's my highlight shade. It's chamomile. Because this color is very bright and intense, I want to use something that doesn't have any shimmer. And I'm literally going to use that under my brow bone. And as you guys can tell, it looks better than this. This looks a little bit more lifted. It looks very complete. And that's exactly what your highlight does. It is a necessary step because otherwise it just looks like it's a cutoff point. So you really want it to look smooth. Also, what kind of helps it look not as bad is that we went in with the shade in the beginning. So we're just going to build that up a little bit. And it just looks lifted. Okay, for my lower lash line, I'm going to use this Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Pencil in Tornado. Son of a seahorse. I love tornadoes. And I'm going to use this to line my lower lash line. This is going to act as our base for the eyeshadow. Doing this is going to help keep your shadow from running. It's going to stick to this pigment, which is why I'm doing it. Now you're saying, well, didn't you just apply that neutral Bobbi Brown color under your lid? I did. But we want to blend and we want to make it look a little bit more defined and intense, which is why we're doing this. I'm just going to go ahead and use this in my waterline. And voila. Okay, so now I'm going to use the 239 that I used to pack on the blue and the teal. And I'm going to take the blue shade and I'm just going to use that to smoke my lower lash line out. A final step that I like to do is I like to take the same highlight color and I'm going to use a 239 brush and I'm going to just run that on my lower lash line and that's going to help blend that out as well. It's just a little trick I like to do to kind of make sure that everything is nice and even and cleaned up. So at this point you can go in and apply your mascara, your lashes, whatever your little heart desires. But this is a final look, guys. I hope that this was helpful to you and I hope that I was as informative as I could be. So does that make sense? I don't know. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I know that this is a bit of a bolder look, but I wanted it to be obvious and I wanted it to make sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any requests, and thank you for joining me on Say What Wednesday. Bye.